All right, so as Simone mentioned, I do own a marketing agency, Agento, in Sarasota on Fruitville Road. Started that business in 2011, and we do web-based marketing for mostly service-based businesses across the United States. I do work with some nonprofits here and there, but that my nonprofit experience is mostly on my personal side. So I'm the chairman of the board at the Manatee County Salvation Army. I've been in that role since 2021-ish, so a long time to be chair. And I'm a board member at Better Together, which is a national organization, but fairly new to the South Florida region. Um, and then last year, I completed a 7-year term at Parenting Matters. So very familiar with nonprofits and boards and the mission and trying to get out the message to as many people as possible. And with nonprofits specifically, on sometimes on a budget, trying to go as far as you can on for every dollar because you got to make sure that the dollars you do raise goes to the mission. Um, so we're going to talk about uh, marketing for nonprofits. There'll be some high level stuff, 30,000 foot or whatever they say. And that's why I say that when we get to Q&A, ask me something selfish, something specific. Okay. When we talk about marketing, this is what we usually are trying to push or trying to convey to people. For profit, nonprofit, doesn't matter. So marketing is awareness plus trust plus action. Doesn't matter if you're for profit or nonprofit. When it comes down to it, it's awareness plus trust plus action. And so it's usually for a for-profit business. See if I can just like minimize this guy a little bit. Oh, that's why. There we go. Um, Oh, usually we're talking about these three buckets. People got to know you, people got to like you, people got to trust you. At the end of the day, you got a stranger in front of you or on the other side of the screen. They got to know you. They got to know who you are, what your mission is, why you do it. They got to like you. They got to like the mission. They got to like why you're doing it and what the impact is and be connected to it. And then finally, they got to trust you. And that more speaks to like them being willing to be a donor or a volunteer, get involved, right? So they got to know you first. They got to like you next, and then I got to trust you. Um, and once they do that, then now you've built a relationship, right? Once they trust you. I've always felt that for nonprofit, it goes a little bit further. So we've got these three, right? Know, like, trust. I got to know you, got to like you, got to trust you. I would submit to you all that you have another bucket, and that's advocate. You want to connect with individuals so that they know you, and then so that they like you, and then so that they trust you and they are willing to make a donation or volunteer. But after that, you want them to be an advocate. I mentioned I'm the chair of the board of the Salvation Army. When potential board members come in and they ask, like, what is my role? What's most important? Staff and other board members will always say things like fundraising or event planning. You guys deal with respective boards, so those are common things. But I always tell board members that the most important role is to take the mission with you wherever you go. Because you all are running nonprofits, you are not always privied or have the time to go into all these places where these board members go, right? You need a board member to be an advocate, to go out and talk about the mission to other people. Then when they're in a boardroom, when they're in an office building, when they're in a warehouse, when they're at somebody's home, you want them to be an advocate. And I would submit to you that eventually that's what you want to turn a donor into. Stranger, then they know you, then they trust you, and now they're an advocate. Would you all agree?
Sure.
Perfect. Because here's what you're up against. Average person sees 10,000 messages a day. Did you realize that? You realize that we see 10,000 messages per day? It's not just digital,
I
right? We see
believe it.
messages. Everywhere we go, I just picked up a brand right here in my hand. You see you see messaging everywhere you go, and you're driving down the street, you see a Kia or Cadillac or Toyota, it's messaging. And you see Bob Boast Dodge on the back of that car, it's messaging. Billboards, storefronts, signs, and then, oh yeah, this device that seems to always be in our hands. We see 10,000 messages per day. The average attention span is 8 seconds today. And for some context, the average or the measured attention span of a goldfish is 9 seconds. So that's what we're up against today. And people only support causes that they feel connected to. There has to be some type of an emotional connection, a reason for them to support a cause. Now, certainly there are scenarios where people will support an organization because they need a tax write-off. But even in those situations, excuse me, even in those situations, it's typically an organization that leadership or ownership or an organization's board feels strongly about. Somebody said something about, hey, I believe in that mission. That's why we should support them. In order to do that, we have to first have a clear message. So that's kind of where I want to start our time today is clarifying your message. Now, when we start talking about this, it's gonna look like we're just talking about mission statements, and it does apply to mission statements. But when I say clarify your message, I want you to realize I'm talking about all communication. So your emails, your social media posts, your videos, your website, your billboards, anything that you do, we need to have a clear and concise message. I like to say if you confuse, you lose. And so instead of talking about just what you do, I want you to communicate it like this: who you serve, why your mission matters, and what changes or what change a donor or volunteer can help create. And that's the tangible impact. What is my dollar going to do? What is my volunteer hour going to do? What's the tangible impact? We start looking at like this, like a triangle: who you serve, what you do, why it matters. You start to be able to put together really clear, clarifying communication. So, for example, who you serve. Well, we serve single mothers in Manatee County as a example. What you do. We provide housing, education, and employment support. Great. Why does that matter? Because safe housing is the foundation for long-term family stability. That's a very tangible statement. Um, the third leg of that, we provide housing, education, employment support. The third leg of that could easily be because housing in South Florida is outrageous, or whatever, something that you may feel may resonate. But the statement, because safe housing is the foundation for long-term family stability, if you read that on a statement, I submit to you that you would picture those families. You would think about those families that are going to have the foundation for long-term stability because of what this nonprofit is doing. You can picture it. It's tangible, it's palpable. And so an elevator pitch example would be, we help audience overcome this problem by providing the solution so they can whatever that outcome would be. And when you create a statement like that, whether that's your vision or mission statement, now everything else can kind of flow off of this. I'll give you one more here. We help veterans transition into civilian life by providing career coaching, peer mentorship, and housing support so they can thrive long after service. The latter part of that statement is the tangible part. All the other parts of it are important, but so they can thrive long after service is tangible. People can feel that, and when they feel it, there's an emotional connection. Remember, we talked about that, having an emotional connection. And I've done this myself, working with nonprofits, but I find that we use nonprofitees as I put here. And I want you to start changing just the way that you communicate instead of something like empowering underserved communities, which is a nice three-word statement. If you use a real world statement, helping working families afford groceries, people feel that. When they feel it, they become connected. And that's what we want. I mentioned I was on the board at Parenting Matters for 7 years. During that time, when I joined the board in 2016, 2017, something like that. Yeah. Um, they were known as the Family Partnership Center. So some of you may have come across them back then. They've been around for close to 30 years now. But they were FPC, and the mission at the time was to prevent child abuse through parenting education. That was the mission statement of the organization. What they found was parenting education. Well, it applies to everybody, right? I don't know who in the room is a parent, but like every parent can learn something, right? There's always ways to improve our parenting, or always things that we struggle with, or whatever. Um, and they found that this keyword here, child abuse, was hindering their ability to reach more people, and of course, hindering their ability to raise more funds, reach more donors. And so we endeavored to change that, to rebrand the organization into what it is now. We succeeded at it. It's Parenting Matters now, and you may be familiar with them. Pre 2019, this was the mission statement. What it changed to was we advance the lives of children together with their parents. That's much more palpable, and it's much easier to digest. It's human language. People can relate to this, they can connect with it. Excuse me. And what they did is what they found was the time Parenting Matters had done about 600,000 in revenue up to that point, and they passed the 1 million mark in annual revenue a year after this, and have consistently been growing ever since then because they are able to reach an audience, connect with them by clearly conveying their mission and communicating their mission clearly, um, and speaking to more people, connecting with them emotionally. Make sense? Can't see anybody, so I want to say yes.
Yes, it does.
All right. Once we've got clear messaging, now we've got to reach people where they are. This is where we'll spend most of the rest of our time together. Um, I've been in marketing since 2011, and there was a time when we would tell people like, "Hey, you got to be everywhere. Hey, Facebook and Twitter and YouTube, you got to be everywhere, because your audience is everywhere." Well, that's not really the case anymore. Um, I suggest that we figure out where our audience is spending their time, right? On a digital platform, or from a digital perspective, we're thinking Facebook or Google or Instagram or YouTube or whatever. There's so many. I've run out of breath reciting all of them. But wherever they are spending, your audience is spending their time, choose one or two of those platforms and be really, really good there. Don't worry about being out on 10 different platforms. Choose one or two and be really good and really consistent. It doesn't mean perfect. We'll talk about that in a bit, but choose one or two and be really, really good there. Okay. Um, for some context, at the turn of the year, these were the average rates of consumption for consumers in the United States. This data says this is how people like to consume content. Okay. So, for example, 91% of people surveyed said they like to consume video content. So, this is why you hear video is king, right? But 67% say social media, they like to consume there, or 47 say 47% said short form videos, and so on and so forth. When you're thinking about creating your content, I want you to remember this statistic and say, okay, maybe we should create some videos, or maybe we should create some social media content, because this is how people consume content. One thing that wasn't surveyed in this or counted in this survey was email marketing. So I wanted to pull some stats there because for nonprofits, not email marketing can be huge. In a recent survey, 48% of donors said that regular email communication keeps them engaged. That's powerful. Uh, it also said the average nonprofit email list is about 4,000 contacts. I'm gonna pause one sec. You guys have 4,000 email contacts?
I don't.
How many, sir?
We do very little email contacting. So I
Okay.
would say less than 100.
Okay. Anybody else?
I think we're
Yeah,
around 2000.
Okay. Evelyn,
yeah,
you said you got four?
yeah, I have more than 4,000.
Okay. I was just curious. Thank you.
I don't know the
Appreciate that.
number, but I know people look forward to our newsletter.
They do. How often do you send that newsletter?
I was sending it monthly, but I think I
Yeah,
dropped
I
the
feel
ball.
you.
Probably last 2 months. I got to get one out.
I
Try
got
to
you.
go back to monthly.
Okay. Let me go back here. Continue to share. Okay. You all see my screen?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so 48% of donors said that regular email communications are most likely to keep them engaged. That is really powerful because if you've got 4,000 or 2,000, um, you're keeping half of them engaged through those emails. Here's what we're up to. Here's what your donation is doing. Here's what your volunteer hour is doing. That's powerful because we all know we need donors we don't need them to give just one time. We need them to continue to give and become advocates. For some context, Nonprofit Tech for Good did this survey, and they were asking how frequently were nonprofits sending out emails, and it's very across the board. Monthly seemed to be the most answered in this survey, and it's probably the most common a monthly newsletter. But here's what I would tell you: if you can send value that is a featured story, a call to action, and something impactful, right? Your support helped 28 families this month. Remember, we're talking about tangible things that people can feel and connect to. If you can do that 24 times a year, then you might need to send more than a monthly newsletter. If you can do it 12 times a year, now we're talking about a monthly newsletter. Great. And if you can only do that 4 times a year, now we're looking at quarterly. I would suggest to you that the amount of value that you have will indicate or dictate how many emails you should send to your donor base, right? If you can consistently um, you can create 12 monthly newsletters that all have different feature stories and different impact stats, different things that people can donate to, then you should do that. You should continue to do it. You should try to grow that email list, but base it solely on the amount of value that you have. Because we all get emails, right? I'm not the only one that gets the sale at Lululemon or at Nike or like I'm not the only one, right? Okay, okay. Whether you're sharing to email or to social media, I want you to start telling stories. Stories are what resonate with people. I wrote here, emotion leads to action. Use storytelling to make your mission human and memorable. That's great. That's accurate. ChatGPT came up with this one. People give to people, not numbers. I left it in there because it was such a good statement. People to give to people, not just the numbers. That's so true. We need to tell stories. And so I want to talk about how we can start framing these stories. Meet Sarah. So this is a story you can tell. Meet Sarah. She came to us. She was living in her car with two children. This is the problem, right? She came to us because she's living in her car with her two children. The turning point is through our transitional housing and childcare program. What? Right? So this is what we did. This is the solution. And the outcome, the result. Today, Sarah has a full-time job and a safe place to call home. Both of those things are doing a lot of lifting there. She has a full-time job, which is important. We all know how hard the workforce is right now. People will relate to that. And then look at the rest of that statement. A safe place to call home. Anybody that receives that in an email newsletter or sees it on social media, they're going to think about their home, their safe place to call home. And they're going to think about, wow, I'm so grateful to be donating toward this, or wow, I need to get involved and donate more to this, or wow, how can I get involved and volunteer to help? It's palpable. It's a three-part story framework. On social media, you can, I find a lot of nonprofits can overload us with stats. They can just lean in on the stats. We help 300 kids today, picture, donate here. Instead, why not tell the story of one of the kids that you helped? Yeah, you helped 300 kids, but why not tell a real story about Jamal, who got his first new pair of shoes from our back to school drive, and he ran around the parking lot and said, "I can run at PE." It's tangible, and it makes much more of an emotional impact than to simply say, "We fed this many people," or "We helped this many kids." People are going to connect because they can see Jamal. Or if you can't share photos of people, I understand, but you can use names, and there's ways to work around that. I'm sure that we're all aware of that because of privacy or whatever. But you can share that story and connect emotionally with people. Consistency over perfection. This is one of the biggest things that when I'm consulting nonprofits or even businesses. Excuse me one sec. Everybody wants their social media post to be perfect. Every line every I's got to be dotted, every T's got to be crossed. The lighting has to be just right. You know what? Let's retake this photo because you know what? Oh, you know what? My hair got in my way over here. It doesn't have to be perfect. What it needs to be is consistent. So if you're putting out 3 posts a week and you're doing it consistently, don't worry about how the graphic looks. Don't worry about if it's 99%. It's not perfect. It's real good, but it's not perfect. Don't worry about that. Really good and consistent is always going to be better than perfect because you need to stay top of mind. And how long is the attention span of our audience? It's 8 seconds. If we want to rise above the overwhelm, we've got to be consistent. Here's what I would suggest on social media. The days I just threw in there, you can choose what works for you. But Monday, you could use a mission moment. You have a mission, you have a vision. Share something about how that mission relates tangibly. What did we actually do out in the field? What was the impact that it actually had? Wednesday is a good opportunity to share something from behind the scenes. Now, I don't know your nonprofits. It may just be you. It may be you and teams. I don't know. It might just be you. But sharing photos of the work actually happening, right? Because Sarah came in and she had a problem, and Sarah got her problem solved by the nonprofit. But what did that look like when the nonprofit was doing the work behind the scenes? Share that stuff. Shout out a volunteer. Share those things. And on Friday, you bring them home. A call to action. Here's where you can donate. Here's how you can get involved. Here's an event that we're doing that you can attend. Please share our mission. But what we've done, if we're consistent about this, is we've created 3 touch points over and over every single week, 3 touch points. And now those people who are donors are seeing what we're doing and they're sharing it with their network. They're becoming advocates. And that's our goal, to take them from a stranger to knowing you, to liking you, to trusting you, to becoming an advocate. Here's some things you can do this week. I don't know if you have a mission statement. Is it in plain English? Plain language, I should say. If so, maybe it needs to be tweaked. Maybe it's perfect. I don't know. You can identify one client, one volunteer, one donor, and you can share their story. Um, I would tell you that every single donor, every dollar helps, right? So every volunteer, every hour helps. So like I'll start working on putting together little stories about every single one of them. Same with clients, start documenting what are we doing for the clients that we're helping from the time they come in, from the time Sarah walked in the door to the time she clocked in at her new full-time job. Like, what did we do? You're documenting those things, which most nonprofits are. You can share those things on social. And if you're running out of time, use our friend ChatGPT. Plug all that stuff in and say, hey, I want to share something on social media about this. Write me a Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It'll help you. Um, Schedule 3 social media posts using a free tool. If you're Most people are in the nonprofit world are using Facebook or Instagram or both. You can schedule that content using Meta's tool. So if you log into your Facebook business account, you can just schedule right there. But if you schedule 3, you got to make sure that at the end of the week you're ready to schedule 3 more. So I put it here. You could do it this week to schedule 3, but I would submit to you, take a day and say, I'm gonna do the entire month's worth of content. And then I'm gonna schedule some time 30 days from now to do it again, because consistency is always gonna be better than perfection. Collect a quote or testimonial. That's up to you to find with your clients. And then add a call to action to your email footer if you're sending out an email newsletter. If you're not, I would tell you to add a call to action to your email signature. Everybody relies on email nowadays. I would tell you to go into your Outlook or your Gmail or whatever it is and add a link where people can donate, because you never know when that email, somebody may see that email that you sent last week and they may have the inclination, they may be connected to you and have the inclination to give. We want to give them an opportunity to take action. So I would tell you that you could do that this week.